Hello, I'm Peril Kinnear, and I'm based in Glasgow Independent Studios in a building called Tron 103. It sits in the city centre of Glasgow, so it's incredibly handy as an artist because I've got access to a really good art shop round the corner and lots of tool stores and things that I can get access to because we're quite close to the Barras in Glasgow, or maybe the Barrowlands if you know Glasgow at all. That's where I am, roughly, Argyle Street, we're just on it. This building houses lots of different organisations. We have street level photography on the bottom, Glasgow Print Studios is on the second floor, we have Sharamanka Theatre, and we have the Glasgow Project Rooms as well, which is a gallery that is an independent gallery run. These studios are a collective of artists that run it. So we have approximately 60 artists in membership, so it can be a really busy studio sometimes, but we're quite lucky in that we are 3 members at this front corridor, so we're a little bit separate, and we're really lucky because we're at the front, so we've got north facing light, which is brilliant for painting. So really, thanks so much Di for asking me to do this, it's so nice. I do a lot of outreach work in the community, and I also do CPD work specifically with a company called Starcatchers, and a lot of that work is very dominated by the idea of signature mark making, especially because Starcatchers in particular works in early years education. So the CPDs are delivering to help people who work with really young children use art as a way to help them develop their brain and their character in a more a broader way of thinking and problem solving, which art is amazing for, and drawing in particular is amazing for. And because of that, I think, because it goes between one aspect of my art practice and my own making my own work, drawing is incredibly important to me, and I draw every day. I do have a bit of a thing where it's like, you know, even if it's just 10 minutes in the back of an envelope, I've got to draw every day. If I don't draw every day, then something's missing. So I suppose it's a bit like keeping a diary. I'm a great one for sketchbooks, and I do have a lot of sketchbooks, and I tend to find I can be a bit fragmented in my practice because of that, because I'll see something, I'll get an idea, and as well because I like to collaborate with people, so sometimes I'm collaborating with musicians and writers, and so because of that I'll maybe have a sketchbook to go with them, a sketchbook to go with maybe if I'm doing backdrops for designer shops and things. There's a shop in Glasgow called 40 who I sometimes do just random pieces for, like I made them mirror ball heads for an event, and I made them a big lantern, 3D lantern with a logo and things, which is quite good fun. I kind of like going away from my own practice and doing these kind of off the wall things for other people, but it kind of makes your mind a bit fragmented, and drawing is the thing that kind of follows through everything that I do. So yeah, for me drawing is a huge part of my process, and the drawing mark is really the beginning for everything. For me, everything relates to drawing. So some of the stuff I'm going to show you would maybe be considered more sculptural, but for myself I would still consider it drawing because it's just drawing with another piece of material. Yeah, I think that's the best way to explain it. So this is a wee sketchbook I tend to drop away from and revisit, and it was just to kind of show you a little bit of the process. I always have lots of writing, and it's not necessarily writing that I would go to. Some of it is notes on just what I'm doing, what I'm thinking. But sometimes I'll be reading something or listening to something, and just a turn of phrase will really appeal to me. So I'll write it down, and sometimes it just is a useful little thing that inspires an image in my head. But sometimes it's more to do with a way of translating, I suppose. It's like if it strikes a chord with me, then there's a good chance it's translating something that's going on with the mark making at the time. I don't like necessarily to work in complete and utter silence all the time. This one's quite interesting because it's got a wee key cut in it, a wee keyhole cut in it. And then there is actually a wee book of keys that I made from it, I think. A tiny batch of keys, but it goes all the way through. There's just lots of little kind of... It's a very cartoony one, I quite like that one. I quite like the one with the kids when they were younger. We used to do that a lot, just do lots of little drawings and play about with ideas. Now they're older, they still do it. They still love a bit of cartoony doodling for ideas. So to start with, I wanted to start with, these are slightly older drawings that were part of a residency a while ago. But I wanted to start with them because they actually involve the process that coming out of the whole lockdown and getting back into my studio is a process I'm probably going to revisit. I'll work, and with these ones in particular, I worked quite a lot with graphite powder, gold leaf, and also photographs. So there's a bit of collage involved in it as well, and it's something that I would probably revisit purely because during lockdown I couldn't really come into the studio because it was in the city centre, and so what I was doing was taking lots and lots of photographs. So it is a way of working that I'm going to revisit. It's a similar process that I used when I was making these pieces of work, and these were taken from seed structures, but again, sorry because I'm behind glass, these ones, so it's a bit of a glare on it. You're getting to see a lovely reflection of my apron and me. Hi. So if you can see, what it is a mixture of graphite powder, but also carborundum, which is a printmaking medium that you use when you're cleaning lithostones. This one here has graphite powder for the line work, and this one here has silver sand for the line work, which is something I use in my painting to texture up some of my oil paints. So these larger pieces, they come from the same series of work, and again using like seed structures and things round about. I quite like taking things that I see outside and in nature, and it can be man-made or completely and utterly natural, and then maybe building them into patterns or using their textures and then thinking about them as a starting point, and usually in relation to materials that I would like to use, because I do tend to work in fairly mixed media sort of way. This particular one has got charcoal, graphite powder, bits of varnish, inks for that drawing. And this one here was looking at seed structures, and that's graphite powder again. I ended up using a lot. I got into using size quite a lot because I was working with gold leaf for a project, so I had hundreds of size left. So I started messing about with how I could use it with other mediums, non-traditional kind of ideas of how I would use it, and I ended up working with graphite powder, which has always been something I've turned to, but I kind of love the texture of it, and I love the tone of the grey that you get with graphite powder, and it kind of gives you that middle ground to work with. Sometimes you can work with that as your dark ground and then work back from it. This one is using inks as well. So a lot of the time drawing, I mean, I suppose because drawing can quite scarily be that using just a pencil and a bit of paper, and that's mortifying, I think, because the paper's always so big and the top of the pencil's always so small that it's slightly terrifying. So also when I'm drawing, I do like to do quite realistic stuff as well, and during the lockdown actually I've been doing a fair bit of portraiture, so I've got some NHS portraits kicking about up there that have still to go to their owners when they're finished. Just some coats of varnish to do, but whenever I draw, I would maybe start with almost like hook things on metaphors, and then they kind of get pulled together with whatever I'm drawing. So a lot of things that I find in And the reason I've gone to this group of drawings is because they actually lead me back to what I was talking about earlier with the kind of sculptural things. I consider actually making things, drawing a line too. So so almost it's like you create a hybridity where you use like metaphors and attach them to other things that aren't attached to in nature at all, but you maybe saw them on the same journey, and you join them together and they become a bit of a hybrid of your experience. So a lot of these were done quite quickly with pen and ink, but again, maybe using photographs as reference before the drawing starts, but done quite quickly. For a while I used to do some live art with a hip hop band called Hector Berserk, and I used to stand backstage and just paint while they performed, which was great, because basically it's like the best seat in the house. Your back's to the audience, you're just painting and listening to music, but it's like live. It's quite cool. It was quite good fun. But it was, to me, it was like an exercise in doodling, because it was pretty much just really quick doodling, unforgiving. It wasn't a case of trying to create any sort of masterpiece, and a lot of the drawings I do are like that, and I tend to work in multiples. So I find it really difficult to work on one thing at a time, which I think a lot of artists are like. They don't work well one thing at a time at all. This actually goes this way, just in case you think these are going a bit lopsided there. Yeah, I like to just work in multiples, and then things I don't like I just ditch or rip up, cut up, and they become cannon fodder for sketchbooks. Di, you might remember this one. This was part of an exhibition, and there's another wee part of it over there. There it is. Right. So yeah, but what I wanted to show you those ones for was to bring you over to these, which are seaweeds, which is kind of, this is one of these things I keep revisiting, because seaweed is seasonal, obviously. And so you can only get this at certain times of the year, the type of seaweed that I use to do this, and I quite enjoy just messing about with them to get kind of shapes. I'm going to just pull a bit of light round to see if I can show you what I mean, because it's when you can get some really interesting shadows if you light them properly, which I'm not really doing. But yeah, it's quite nice to play about with, just to get some nice shadows. And sometimes the drawings, I'll do drawings from them, or sometimes them themselves are drawings. Quite like them just as little objects, they're almost like nests. But also, I kind of always imagine them as little kind of like windows to look through, the little eyepieces. So I've been making these on and off for a few years, and it actually started on a residency in Ireland, in the Innishlacken residency, which Rosie McGurn, Irish artist, organises. But yeah, if you see that when that's going down, just a lovely shadow. So a lot of the time I would actually try and photograph the shadows and work with that type of line work, and then maybe create hybrids from that. And then sometimes I would get seaweed like this as well. And these are just kind of little experiments with drawing on seaweed. Obviously these aren't permanent in any way, shape or form, but they're something that I might then photograph and use in a collage format. I quite like the idea of kind of making work, photographing it, and then the photograph of the work becoming the work itself, or the photograph of the work then becoming part of another piece of work, so that there's this constant traversing through all the work that you do. Thanks very much for joining me in the studio. I suppose to sum up, really what we're saying about drawing and the importance of it is that it is that continuous element that carries through every part of my art, but I do think it is for most people that are involved in the arts of drawing, is that one thing that hinges on everything. But I suppose when I first started learning about drawing, I was encouraged to draw continuously, and I was encouraged to see it as a language that would feed every part of art, and that everything that I learned in art was actually in effect an extension of drawing, which is why when I make something with wire or seaweed or whatever comes to hand, then it doesn't matter that it's not a traditional drawing material, it's still drawing per se. So I hope you are all staying safe and well, and Di, thanks again, and I'm looking forward to seeing more people's studios. Bye.